Jump.
It is Steelers week here on the Doghouse. Your inside look at the Cleveland Browns. I'm Andy McNamara alongside Matt Fleur-Jancic from WKYC Sports in Cleveland, brought to you by SportsInteraction.com, one of the finest sports betting sites on the web. Go to SportsInteraction.com/Browns, and they'll match up to $200 of your first deposit just for being listeners to this fine program, the Doghouse. Matt, Steeler week. It's usually a big deal, but it's all too familiar a tale from a Browns fan perspective because at this time of the year, let's say they play Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is challenging for a playoff spot, and the Browns are waiting to see what draft position they get. How are you?
Well, with an introduction like that, how can I be anything but stupendous, Andy?
Yeah.
You know, it is Steeler week, but it doesn't feel like it one iota. The Steelers have said this is just another game to them. The Browns are trying to do everything to make themselves relevant and say it's a rivalry game. So right now, it has zero feel that it is a rivalry, and that's sad because it was once a very great rivalry, and now it's become nothing short of just another ball game.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's funny. Before Chuck Noll took over as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach eons ago, it was the Steelers who were being dominated what seemed like forever by the Cleveland Browns. Now, of course, as we know, for many a year, it has been in the other direction. So we're going to give our AFC North and Browns official prediction near the end of the show. We'll get the odds from SportsInteraction.com. But, Matt, there's some news coming out on Twitter about maybe 20 or so minutes ago, reported by the NFL Network's Albert Breer, essentially coming out, and Tony Grossi wrote about it on ESPN Cleveland about a week ago. This seems to be confirming it, even more damning evidence that Alex Shiner, the president of the Cleveland Browns, the business guy who has made Jimmy Haslam, the owner, so much cash, actually has a lot more sway in football operations and final decisions than we once thought. Apparently, coming down to the trade deadline, he now got final say. The report said that teams didn't know really who to ask for. That just breeds dysfunction, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And when you're involving multiple opinions in a football decision, especially ones who have really no track record and or no real business making football decisions, it lends itself to confusion, and teams don't want to deal with you. And you're going to keep sending up the asking price, and your general manager is basically a puppet for you, saying, oh, I don't want this, I want a first-rounder and another player, I want a first and a second-rounder for Joe Thomas. Regardless of who was making that call, it was going to be a difficult decision, but the fact that Alec is even in the discussion of making the decision shows me that there's a lot more dysfunction in this organization than previously stated.
Matt, we have to go back to, and unfortunately we go back to it far too often on the show, when something just seems so unbelievable, we go back to the famous Vince Lombardi quote.
What the hell's going on out here?
Yeah, but it almost becomes believable now, doesn't it? It almost becomes, you say, oh, that's unbelievable, and then wait a minute, it actually is kind of actually believable. I guess the thinking, Matt, is, okay, the report structure for the Browns after they had their summer retreat to get everybody all on the same page and friends after the texting scandal was, all right, President Alex Shiner, business side, report to owner Jimmy Haslam. Ray Farmer, personnel decisions, you report to Jimmy Haslam. Head coach Mike Pettin, on-field game day decisions, you report right to the owner. Now, Farmer's track record, as we've discussed many times on this show, has been abhorrent. Mike Pettin, his record's 2-7. You're what your record is. Alex Shiner's the only one in the organization actually having success. The Browns are worth over $500 million more than when Jimmy Haslam bought him. So by all accounts, it looks like he's gained more trust with the owner. That's great, Matt, but because you can make a lot of money on the business side does not mean that you are qualified to make football decisions.
That's 100% correct. Unfortunately, our owner doesn't necessarily believe that, and you're trusting a guy who's, first of all, the problem is both guys learned from Jones, and I'm talking Jimmy Haslam,
Yep.
and I'm talking Alex Shiner. One was a staff lieutenant, and one shadowed him for a few days while he, went over how to run a football team after he made the purchase of the Browns. So it's really, you're learning from the wrong guy. They really should be learning from a guy like Robert Kraft, who understands that if I just stay out of people's ways and let them do their jobs, the Patriots mantra, the famous mantra that it is, they will win games and make me a whole lot of money.
Yep.
And that's the problem right now is they don't seem to understand that by being a good enough football team to compete on the field, you will make money.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at with it. We have a GM who wants to coach. We have a coach who doesn't know what the hell to do. And we have a president who thinks he can do it all. So there we are. We're back where we started.
Oh, the Jerry Jones formula. You mean ever since Jimmy Johnson left town and was it Barry Switzer or Schwartz, whoever it was, took over just on the ends of that talent? They haven't done anything. Jerry Jones? Wow. I do have some good news, though, Matt, at least for Johnny Manziel fans. According to Mary Kay Cabot and other sources on Twitter, Johnny's starting. Johnny is going to be starting against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. Now, I get excited when Johnny starts because I love the excitement. I love the hype. However, this may not be your father's Pittsburgh Steelers where you have Dick LeBeau running mayhem. Still a pretty darn good football team. The benefit, which doesn't directly affect Johnny, but the benefit is that Big Ben Roethlisberger, 18-2 all-time against the Browns, will not play. It'll be Landry Jones, who has looked pretty good in spot duty, Matt, but really, this is as ideal a situation as you could ask for if you're the Browns, isn't it?
Well, it is, but they've got to take advantage of it, and that's not exactly been their strong suit recently.
No.
So we will see what they can do against the Ben Roethlisberger-less Steelers team. But I do recall them losing to a Ben Roethlisberger-less team with Charlie Batch as the quarterback. So, optimism tells me to believe that, hey, maybe they can get one. Realism tells me that this is going to be a lot harder than people think.
Yeah, and you know why, Matt? It's because, and the Browns get another gift. Le'Veon Bell out for the year. You get D'Angelo Williams, who is not 100%. He's expected to start now, but has been limited in practice. Does anybody out there truly think that even with an injury, D'Angelo Williams is not going to run for 100 yards, Matt? Like, I just see this as an expectation now, not of, if the Browns can stop their run. Well, they won't. So how can they win despite being run on for over 100 yards? Like, it doesn't seem to matter who's back there. The dude's going to get 100-plus yards. And that's really where we're at.
Yeah, it is where we're at. And you also have to take into account that our secondary is destroyed right now with injuries. Whitner and Hayden are officially out because of concussions. Gibson is sick. They don't know if he's going to be able to play. Jordan Poyer has a banged-up shoulder. Ibrahim Campbell missed practice time earlier this week. And so you're looking at 4 members of your secondary all within the top 6 or 7 of your defensive backs are either out or limping into the Steeler game because of injuries, and they have to check Antonio Brown. And no offense to the guys that are on the field, but did y'all see what he did last week? I mean, the man had 284 yards on 17 receptions, 180 yards on 10 catches in the first half alone. If he puts up half those numbers, the Steelers win by 20.
Oh, boy.
So they have to figure out a way to do what they haven't done all season long, and that's play good defense, because they're going to be in a world of hurt if they cannot figure out a way to even come close to slowing down. I'm not talking neutralizing or taking Antonio Brown out of the game. I'm talking about slowing him down enough where you can at least stay on the field to compete.
The benefit is that Antonio Brown has not scored a touchdown or really had a big game without Ben Roethlisberger under center, whether it's Michael Vick, whether it's Landry Jones. So that might be one little bit of a bright spot. But not to say they don't have other weapons you can go to. You have Martavius Bryant. And again, you have D'Angelo Williams. Matt, the Browns are in Pittsburgh. You're going to be going to the game. And I know you know this, but for the fans who might not, the last time Cleveland won on the road versus the Steelers in Pittsburgh, Tim Couch was the quarterback. It was 2003. George W. Bush was the president of these United States, and the number one song in the nation was Baby Boy by Beyonce. That's how long ago it was. It's been a minute.
Does she even make music anymore?
I don't know. She still makes money. She still it was
well, yeah,
it was
I mean,
Baby Boy.
Given. She's gonna make money.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this song list. You had Baby Boy, Beyonce. You had Here Without You, Three Doors Down, Hey Ya by Outkast. Some great songs, and really the last time the Browns won in Pittsburgh. Like, Matt, it just doesn't happen. But without Roethlisberger, you at least have that shot. Now let's get to Johnny Manziel, who again by also multiple reports will get the start. And, boy, was he ripped apart this week, Matt. My goodness, he was ripped apart. An SB Nation article saying he missed open reads on certain radio stations. People saying, oh, he's all about himself, and he's being selfish, trying to create plays. Manziel himself coming out and saying, hey, I'm not tall enough to look over the line. I got to make some stuff happen. With Johnny, and knowing that in the past, at least in college, he's been a big game, back against the wall, underdog type, where he's really been able to succeed in those scenarios. Do you feel an extra week of practice with first team reps, and that he has shown some progress? Where do you think he comes out against this Pittsburgh defense, which of course, like against any young quarterback, is going to be giving him some multiple looks, probably drop some cover too, so he can't make the deep pass to Travis Benjamin?
Well, the key is, I don't want to sound like I'm buying into Mike Pettin, but the key is the offensive line. They have to find a way to keep him upright and somewhat mobile, truthfully.
Yeah.
This is going to be a new experience for him because Joe Bitonio is out, at least for this week, so Cam Irving slides in at left guard. Admittedly, that's the position he's played the least amount of time at any point during the season, and he's going to be going up against Cameron Hayward, who has quite an ability to ruin plays for an offense. So if they can find a way to keep him upright and at least give him a chance, maybe we'll see some improvement, but I wouldn't expect to see him go from 15 completions in 33 attempts to completing 28 of 34 throws for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's not going to show that much progress.
No.
I would say if he gets to 200 passing yards, it would be an improvement for him. He showed an ability to keep possession of the football and not turn it over as he had earlier in the year, so that was a positive step. That has to continue. You cannot give a wounded dog or a wounded animal any space to back themselves out of the corner, and make no mistake about it, the Steelers are wounded right now, but they're still playing for a playoff spot.
Sure.
So you have to do everything you can to hold on to the football, and you have to find a way to make plays. If he can do those two things, the Browns will be competitive.
Matt, I see Johnny Manziel, at least in the first half, and at least with the game plan, what they're going to try to do, I think we're really going to see an overemphasize in the short check down pass, because that's what's been made so much of. I think we're going to see a lot of short passes to Gary Barnidge, a lot of over the middle shots in the slot, and not, if any, especially in the first half, deep balls. I think we're really going to see a more conservative look down. The question's going to be, that's all well and good. You want to get the completions, you want to move the chains. I'm fine with that. However, if you have that strategy, your run game also has to work, and it becomes tougher because then the defense starts closing in, and that crowds running lanes, which, again, points to a Browns game where not one back will run for over 75 yards. That's the direction I see this game going.
Hell, I'd take one that could get to 50 right now. They forget about running 75. They can't even barely get 30. And the quarterback is once again leading the team in rushing for at least 3 quarters of the game.
Yeah, you're right.
If you can't get a running game jump-started, the Steelers will pin their ears back and absolutely destroy whoever lines up at quarterback, whether it be Johnny, Austin Davis, Josh McCown, or if all 3